So welcome back to the channel, and today we're taking a look at an all-in-one computer. Now this computer was donated to the channel by a good buddy of mine. He was doing a house clean out and he had this and he said, hey, you want it? I was like, yeah, absolutely. But as you can see, we have to take some precautions with this, and we'll dive into that a little bit later. So all-in-one computers, growing up, I thought they were the coolest. And the one I think about most is the compact one. It had like the 14-inch screen up here on the top, and then on the bottom, you know, you had your little floppy drive and your CD-ROM drive, and they were pretty cool. And in the back, you could take out a couple of screws, slide out the motherboard tray, upgrade the hard drive, memory, and typically you had like 2 PCI slots, maybe put in a better sound card or a cheap graphics card, and they were great. I thought they were the coolest, so much better for space saving. And back when I was growing up, my computer desk at the time was really small. So when I had a typical computer, like a full-size CRT and a tower over here, it took a lot of real estate, but this computer I was able to kind of tuck it in the corner on the desk and have a little more room, especially back then when I used to do homework, or when I remembered to do homework. But anyways, I thought these computers were really cool. And the thing about them back then, gaming on them, was pretty awesome too. Gaming back then was not as demanding as it is now. Now you need like these ridiculous graphics cards, or, you know, expensive graphics cards, tons of heat and all that type of stuff. But back then you could play games like Wolfenstein, Duke Nukem, Commander Keen, and a whole bunch of other cool games that just really didn't require intense graphics. And then of course, as things progressed and you needed better graphics cards, they did begin to show their weakness on that. The biggest thing with them is, number one, they were very proprietary, so it's not like you could go ahead and change out the motherboard. And then number two, if the screen went bad, well, guess what? You pretty much, it's worthless at that point. I still thought they were cool, but they were typically a little more pricey, but can be very convenient. Fast forward to today, and all-in-ones are still around and not much has changed. Now you have the LCD or LED screen, just depending on the computer that you buy, and then in the back, you have all the components. Still can't really upgrade them like compared to like when you could do before, where you could put in some type of graphics card or sound card into it. I mean, who uses a sound card anymore? But anyways, but now it's just pretty much you're limited to upgrading the memory and the storage, and that's about it. Sometimes there are some that you can't upgrade the CPU, but then you run into some power issues. That's a whole other story in itself. But I have this all-in-one. I'm curious, how well will it hold up years later? Now this one is not terribly old, but it is an older one, and I want to get this thing opened up, clean it out, fire it up, use it, kind of relive a little bit childhood experience. So let's go ahead and dive in. So if you notice, it's in a garbage bag, and the reason why is the buddy of mine, he told me, hey, this house cleanup that we're doing, they may have had little critters here and there, take precautions. So I went ahead, dumped it in a garbage bag. I had it sit for at least a week. I've opened it up a few times and there's been no signs of life or anything trying to crawl out and eat me alive or destroy my home. So that's a good thing on that. And also it did have a slight odor, so I just went ahead and put some dryer sheets in there to kind of help maybe mask the odor. Probably not. So let's go ahead and open this up. Again, like I said, I've opened this up outside in the driveway and made sure nothing else comes flying out of it. Scented linen. I think it's Fresh Scent is the one we use. And here we are. Let's go ahead and move you out. Oh, just like so, just like so. And honestly, this actually works pretty good. This doesn't smell nowhere near as bad as it did. So dryer sheets for the win. Now we do have our power connector over here. And just to double check and confirm, there's no signs of life or former life in here. So yeah, best way to play it safe. So we have a Lenovo. Let's zoom in on the model, specs, also the IO that we have in the back. So we have the F0 DT, 20 volts, 4.5 amps, good to know. i3 8th gen, Windows, Dolby Audio. And for our rear IO, we have, I believe that's the power cord. Yep, that's the power connector. Makes sense. Ethernet, HDMI, USB, and another HDMI. And as you can see, yeah, still a little dirty. On the left over here, we have our DVD drive, I would assume. Yeah, the button. Yeah. She doesn't feel as clicky or smooth as she could be. It's probably fine. And on the top, which I think is really cool, is this is the web camera. So apparently you push this thing down, it pops up. We got the camera. Pretty nice. Also a little sticky. And for the front, our speakers. This must be what, maybe a 14-inch screen. I'll have to look up the specs on that. And the screen, I mean, yeah, we need to give her a good cleaning. So, but it's all there. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do first is kind of clean this up a little bit. World's best glass cleaner. I use this stuff on everything. Works pretty good. Oh yeah, idea center. So this is the center for your ideas. Okie doke. Do that, kind of wipe this thing down, see if the screen, oh man, I think we got a scratch on it. Yes, some of this stuff is coming off. Ew. So, smoker home. Yeah, that's great. And it looks like we got one little nick right there. Maybe it's not too bad when we turn the screen on. Let's go ahead and just keep wiping this. That way the nicotine doesn't diffuse into my body and get me addicted to nicotine. That would not be good. So yeah, let's just, you know. And I say that as I wipe this with no gloves. But anyways. I mean, it still has the, I guess, protective sheet on it. We'll probably just leave that alone for now. Actually, no, we need to take this out because if there is any odors, this might absorb it. Now I see why they left it. How in the world do you take this thing out? We'll get back to that. Probably just have to cut it or something. All right, so that's less gross, so that's pretty good. I did forget to turn the camera on. I did wipe this, and once again, yeah, pretty bad. Now this Velcro straps gotta go, because this thing would hold tons and tons of smells and everything, so delete on that. Garbage. So now this is a 90-watt power brick, and I don't have this cord. Well, it didn't come with this cord. I do have it. This is why I don't get rid of, I just happen to have another power brick from another Lenovo device that has the correct cord. So, win. See, hoarding paid off. Or just forgetting what I have and, you know, eventually remembering. All right, so I think what I'm gonna do first is just turn it on. At this point, I mean, we're gonna have to dive deep in here. So from what I understand, the specs are i3-8100. I think it only has 4 gigs of DDR4, and it has a 1 terabyte. Oh yeah, the specs are right over here. Duh, I didn't have to look it up. So it did come with Windows 10 Home, a DVD RW. Yeah, 1 terabyte. It says SSD. No, okay, so 1 terabyte hard disk drive, 16 gig SSD. So I think it has that Optane stuff going on. We'll just delete on that and just put a regular 256 gig SSD. And I think that would be more than enough. But before I even bother opening it up, let me make sure this thing turns on. This is kind of one of those situations, you know, last ran when parked. So let's find out. Here goes nothing. Okay. And power. Is it here? I hear noises. Hello? Anybody home? I hear a mechanical hard drive making clickety-clackety noises. Oh, yay, it works. Sweet. Screen is not damaged. Everything seems to be doing what it's supposed to be doing. So we are going to wipe this and destroy this drive. It works. Obviously there's a password and all that type of stuff, so we can't really stress test it or do anything like that. And I really don't want to bother installing Windows or dealing with the mechanical drive. So let's open it up and obviously put some more memory and a better drive in there. I might have to do some research on this because I really have no idea how to open this up. Now, I'm pretty sure this comes out somehow. I think the first thing I want to do is get this cover open. I think this cover comes out and we can at least, maybe, we already got some grossness. So we're definitely, yeah, we're definitely going to be giving this thing a good clean. And from what I see, even if I take this out, yeah, even if I take these screws out, this looks like it's not going to come out like it should. So yeah, that part. Let me look it up. On these, most times I'm able to kind of figure it out as I go, but my experience with these, because the bezel, you typically have to pry on it. If you're not careful, you can damage the screen. I don't want to do that. I don't. If this thing works, it can actually be pretty decent. So let's do some homework. So browsing through the interweb, there's a screw here. So let's go ahead and pop this out. Yep. And let's go ahead and unscrew this. Holy crap. What in the world? That is like really tight. Probably got to use a bigger screwdriver. This goes that way, which I think that loosens it. Let's get this out of the way for now. And I think I'm supposed to pry. Try to see if we can use a bigger pry tool, because I ain't getting no leverage on that. I mean, that is just an amazing sound, all that clicking and clacking. Okay. I mean, we're doing something. Don't know what we're doing. Now it does have these screws over here. Let's take these out just in case this is keeping me from pulling it out. All right, folks, we're getting somewhere. Got that pried, and I just dropped my screws. That is great. We'll never see those again. But moving on, the trick was actually, and it's still not easy, is the screw right over here. When I actually turned it and kind of pushed it a little more, it popped this out even more, so that's cool. And then this part, which is not for the faint of heart, we're just kind of prying it. So using a better pry tool. These are interior trim tools for a car, and they also work great at removing your graphics card. I was kind of able to finagle this in here and pop this thing out. So we have this side just about ready to go. And now we get to do the same thing on this side, which this is where it kind of sucks, because it's like, makes you feel like you're gonna break the screen. I think we got it. All right. Now, before we go ahead and start ripping things apart, let's make sure that we have nothing else that's, you know, attached, cables or anything like that. Ow, my finger, ow, my finger. Cool. Oh, we got it. We got it. Okay. comes out. Cool. Now, what cables are keeping us from our prize? All right, I'll show you more when I dive in, but there is this cable right over here. And thankfully, they made this easy to pop out, so that's cool. Bingo! Ta-da! Oh yeah, that was real easy. Great. And this is why you wrap this in a bag, let it sit for a while, and don't mess with it. We got some eggs right over here. A couple that flew out right over there. Oh, lovely. So let's get the vacuum. Let's... Well, that should be a little better. All right, now we get the fun part of where to begin. Gotta clean everything. I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. We gotta clean everything. And obviously first thermal paste, more memory, and kind of get underneath this. So without further ado, let's go ahead and I guess take out this. This probably is the hard drive. Come on, little buddy. There you go. It's like lately, every computer I get has this Western Digital Blue. Very popular. Well, that gives us a bunch of real estate. Well, the question is, how can we take this all apart without destroying the mechanism? Well, let's go for these screws that are attached to the frame. Ooh, we got different sizes, so we might want to take mental note of that. And the good thing about recording this stuff is that if I forget, the camera reminds me. And this is why all this has to come apart. So we'll put this on the pile of things to destroy, clean. All right, so slowly chipping away, making good progress. Now, this heatsink needs to come out because fresh thermal paste is a must. Ew. Thermal paste status, not terrible. Let's just wipe this off so we don't have a huge mess. Because thermal paste tends just to get everywhere. It makes a huge mess. There's our beautiful i3 8100T. Now, if I had an i7 8th gen, what is it, 8600, 8700? You know, the T version of this or something like that, I would definitely upgrade this, but unfortunately I don't. But then again, what can you really gain out of putting a i7 in here? All right, next we need to take out this fan and this motherboard. So start here. And we'll definitely have to give this a good cleaning. Yep. Now I think besides a bunch of these connectors, all we have left to really do is take out this motherboard. And what I'm going to do is just take out the Wi-Fi card. Now let's get all these screws out. The good thing is that most of these screws are the same, so can't mix them up too badly. Now, in a non-smoker roach environment, you probably don't have to go this involved because, you know, it's not as gross. But considering, you know, the roaches could have hung out underneath, you want to try to get rid of the smell as much as you can. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. And with some alcohol wipes and some fresh cleaning, we could definitely make this thing as good as new, if not better. And we got one more over here. It's almost like working on a laptop. Now, what is holding you back, my friend? Let go. We're getting there. I just need you to come out. I mean, will you say hi? There we go. Just a little stuck. Bingo. Yeah, great. They were hanging out right about over here. And, well, it's a good time to change that CMOS battery, so we'll definitely be doing that. But we could get this thing cleaned up and as good as new. I think I want to get this out. And that's pretty much everything. A couple antennas, one egg, one dead dude over there. And I think about it, delete. I mean, at this point, when you run into a computer like this, I mean, you're committed. You're committed for the long haul. And you got to decide whether all this effort is worth it. And I'll be frank with you, most times it is not. This case, probably not. I mean, if you don't clean this really good, it is going to be hard to sell. Because the smell might linger, you know. So you got to really sit down and say to yourself, is all the time that you're putting to do this worth it versus the return that you'll get? But I do this, number one. Oh, look. There's a guy right there. Dead. I do this, number one, as a hobby. I enjoy this. You know, I do the YouTube thing. It's fun for me to do. Not cleaning roach stuff, but, you know, I enjoy tinkering with computers, and this is kind of what you deal with, and this is what you get. I think what I'm going to do is switch to a montage of the cleaning, and when we come back, we'll do some upgrades. we are, nice and clean and a lot better. And as far as the smell, I'll post a picture of it. It's called Sterafine 2. I've used this stuff for years and it gets rid of the smell. You spray it and you kind of let it sit for about 5 minutes, and this is for the plastics and stuff. You don't want to spray this on the electronics, obviously, but anything that, you know, would absorb the smell, you spray it. It kills like all bacteria and all that type of stuff, and it gets rid of the odor. This thing smells like that Sterafine now. It has no hint or odor of roaches or smoke or anything like that, and it's the best thing that I have found to get rid of that odor. So I'll post a picture of it, and I think if Amazon sells it, I'll post a link for that. It's not cheap. It's $30 for a bottle, and it does go a long way. You don't need much, but it gets rid of the smell great. So moving on back to the whole purpose of this, let's go ahead and upgrade some. So it has 4 gigs of DDR4 2666, and it has this octane. So I'm thinking I could probably pop in a 500 gig, hopefully 16, but I think I only have 8 gigs, which would be more than enough. And we are not going to be using the mechanical drive. I'll go ahead and pop the caddy in, but I mean, for the most part, there's really no reason to have the mechanical drive. And if for some reason I do decide to flip this, or I don't even know what I'm going to do with this thing, be honest with you, that is just something that I could just give it to the new owner and they could decide later on what they're going to do with it. So, but realistically, a 500 gig SSD should be more than enough. And you probably won't ever have to use a mechanical drive. Yeah, I could leave it in as extra storage, but the mechanical drive sounds, not a huge fan of it. So let's go with this. So I do have 2 8 gigs, so that should be kind of nice. I think, let me pop this open. Oh, yep, just like that. I think we could just slide this in right over here. It's the same speeds as the other one, so it should work. And I don't have a 500 gig M.2. I just have a ton of 256 gigs one, so we're just going to go with this. But either way, 256 gig for an all-in-one should be more than enough. I mean, these things mostly get used for the browsing and all that type of stuff, so I think we'll be fine with that. Let's go ahead, let's fire it up, see if it still works after all of this. So this is a prime example of double check your work, rewatch the footage if you're recording it. Forgot to put the CMOS battery in, and I realized that just as I was getting ready to kind of button everything up, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I didn't do it. And then I found the old one on the floor, so yeah, that's great. That's great. So I got to deal with all 10,000 of these screws now. So let's try this again. So here's my thought. Got to make sure this thing turns on, but I don't want to deal with the whole prying. So I'm going to try to loosely put it together and see, you know, if we could just get enough to get a screen. And this might be a little more challenging than I thought. Okay. Oh boy. Oh boy. You know, I have an idea that's going to be a lot more practical, because this is not going to work. Let's take all this off. I think it's what, 6 screws? Because if the memory doesn't work properly or the storage drive is bad, then I have to take all this out again. So I'd rather do this than have to do that. Perfect. I'm just gonna put these over there, make sure we don't lose them. So now we can pop this in loosely. We just gotta finagle these connectors, which shouldn't be too terrible. Yeah, there's enough slack. Well, thank you, Lenovo. It's like you wanted me to fix this. Probably not, but still. Okay. Can we... Yep. Okay. So we have loosely assembled this. I'm just gonna turn it like that. Looks like we got power. Can we get a screen? It is quieter without the mechanical drive, that's for sure. Come on. The fans are spinning, I feel them. Hey, there we go. Checking media presence. No operating system found. I wonder if I could just lean this up right here. Okay. I know you're gonna keep infinite doing that for like 10,000 years. What we need to do is get a USB in there. Okay. F2, F1. All right, we're in the BIOS. Sweet. So let's see what it picks up. System summary. So we're picking up our memory. We got 16 gigs of 2400. That's good. Our M.2 drive. Our storage is not being picked up. All right, let me play with this. All right, so some work off camera. Turns out that M.2 is bad. So it happens. So now, let's see. Okay, picks up our NVMe, 256 gig. Let's go ahead and boot to our USB. Okay, okay, F10. And we should be able to install Windows 11. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and install this, put this whole thing back together. We come back, we'll see how this thing runs. Well, she's done. Got her all put back together. Windows installed. The best part, it does have an activation, so we're good. That saves me a couple of dollars here and there. And folks, I learned something cool about this that I didn't know this computer had. Check this out. Touch screen. That was awesome. I figured that out because I was kind of messing around with this camera a little bit and I accidentally touched it. I'm like, what in the world? Touch screen. That is a real cool feature. So just to recap, it's an i3-8100T. We upgraded it from 4 gigs to 16 gigs of DDR4 to 2666 and has a 256 M.2. Got rid of the mechanical drive and the whole Optane thing on it. 256 should be more than enough for it. And the thing runs great. Now, it's not a gaming machine by no means. You can play some potato games on it. You know, there's some Steam games and Epic games that you could play with a small computer like this. But overall, looks really good. Performs well, great for browsing the internet, checking the email, the web, all that type of stuff. So really cool computer. And finally, the one thing that I've been dying to do, and I figure I saved it for the end of the video, the peel. That's right, this thing has been on there for many, many, many years. So, oh, now that moves smoothly. So as far as the smell and the cleaning, that Sterafine 2 stuff works really good. It's not cheap, it's $30 for a spray. I can't seem to find mine. I think I used it up and tossed it, but anyways, that stuff you just spray it on non-electronic components, let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. It will destroy any smell or odor. You wipe it, it doesn't leave a film or anything, and this thing smells like, well, sterilized, more like a hospital. And as far as the electronics, you're gonna have to scrub it with isopropyl alcohol. I spray it down with the toothbrush and I go back and forth to get off all the fecal matter from the roaches. There were some on there, and that's the time to inspect the board and see, hey, does this thing have some serious corrosion on it, and you know, is there going to be an issue later? Fortunately, this board was in perfect condition after I cleaned everything out, but I have had boards where they still worked, but even after cleaning them, there was some corrosion on it and I wouldn't trust the board, so then I got a hook. So then at that point, I just go ahead and just scrap the project. In this case, there was some value to this, so I figured why not? Probably took 2 hours of my time. I have no money into this. The memory, I have tons of DDR4 memory from laptops that I've just totally scrapped, and a bunch of M.2s just lying around. So the upgrades cost me nothing. As far as what it's worth and what I'm gonna do with it, I don't know. I think probably you could sell this for about 200 bucks. I really don't know. I'll post on the screen what they're selling for on eBay, but still pretty cool, good value, and I don't know, not sure what I'll do with it. So with all that being said, comment down below, let me know your thoughts, concerns, criticisms. Would you have saved this all-in-one? What are your thoughts on all-in-one computers? And any suggestions that you think could help as far as cleaning a roach-infested computer. If you like this video, definitely hit the like button, subscribe if you're not, and as always, we'll see what we come up with next.